Well, I think we can go ahead and get started. So again, if you're joining us today, you are here for the Synder webinar on transforming accounting, process optimization, and AI integration. And I'm really excited today to introduce our guest. We have with us today Ben Sternberg, who is a CPA, co-founder of Eight Figure Finance, and a forensic accountant. He has been a CPA and forensic accountant for over 7 years with experience in consulting. He recently opened his own bookkeeping business where he uses his expertise in re-engineering financial records to help business owners properly structure and manage their books. Welcome, Ben. We're so excited you're here
Thank
today.
you, Melissa. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're excited to get started. Any opening remarks, things you want to let the audience know before we dive right into the questions?
Um, I'm happy to be here and thanks for participating. I'm looking forward to discussing about AI and other accounting things that we have going on in the marketplace at the moment. And just, excited to participate. So let's get under it. Let's get underway.
Yeah, thanks. And this is definitely a popular and timely topic. Everybody's talking about AI these days. So thank you for being willing to dive into this kind of, hot topic with us.
Sure.
But first, to kick things off, let's start with a little chat on cash flow management. So what would you say are some of the most common challenges companies face when managing cash flow? And then also let's chat about how they can overcome those.
I own a bookkeeping firm and I see a lot of businesses come in to my practice, and cash flow management is obviously one of the hot topics as well. So a lot of my clients, I actually have been consulting with them to, one of the best ways to handle cash management is to understand your accounts receivable, right? So when are you collecting? How fast are you collecting? When are you invoicing, and so forth? And so an easy way to manage cash flow in general is just to knock down your collecting time. So if you're currently, on net 30 terms with your clients and you're servicing them without getting paid, that's definitely going to be an issue. So upfront partial payments are always really good. Net 7 terms, or even saving a credit card on file could be helpful. That will just allow you to constantly service your clients faster, get paid quicker. Um, Other ones is like things that we are seeing in the marketplace right now are people taking way too many distributions. And so, you're a business owner, you want to pay yourself and you want to make sure that you are motivated by, of course, compensating yourself. But there could be a point where you're taking too much out of the business and not reinvesting to then further create more cash flow. Something that has been really hot topic to mine is understanding accounting methodology. So a lot of clients come to my practice and are, struggling with cash management themselves, and I have to show them the two different methodologies of reporting. So that's cash basis versus accrual, and kind of understanding the differences between when recognizing revenue, how the expenses flow into the business, and just that really can easily alleviate pressures on cash management. That's just to name a few.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And let's go a little bit into overexpansion. Can you talk a little bit about that, the challenge and
Yeah, so there's constantly, when you're a beginning founder, or if you're in another phase of your business where you're in that process of scaling either once, twice, or third time, the overexpansion can be a really big play. And so that's making sure that you're understanding the return on investment really by employee. You want to know the actual productivity and output that you're getting by employee. Do you have too many employees? Are you getting enough out of them? Those are certain costs on the overhead side that you should really hone in on, and making sure. Another one is if you're a project-based company or and services, right? Let's take an example, maybe like a graphic design company. Um, those are project-based services, and you want to ensure that the fee that you're charging your client makes sense on your end as well. Like, what is your margin, not just as a whole company, but by project? Can you actually hone in on the detail of, okay, I have 3 people working on this project. I pay them this each month. that takes into account? What are the software costs associated with servicing that client? What's the equipment and stuff like that? Really getting into the nitty gritty data. And of course, budgeting, right? So making sure that you can forecast the future and also you're hitting those marks, because if you just keep saying, I want to hit this revenue number, I want to hit this revenue number, but you never are, your cash management and other things can definitely take into effect.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. And can you maybe share some strategies you found to be particularly effective for improving cash flow management?
Um, there's so many different ways you could do it. Like I said, you can always try and switch your net terms. You can, of course, look into your payroll and overhead. Uh, a really big piece that I see in my clients, and it's across the board, is software, right? So everybody's trying to leverage their software right now, and you get on calls with these vendors and they sell you different services, and you're like, oh, that sounds great for my company, and then you end up having a hodgepodge of software that you're paying way too much for, and just not constantly reviewing those books month over month and really honing in on what is causing issues if you are having them.
Okay, that makes sense. And then can you talk a little bit about how like hiring a good bookkeeper can actually help with improving cash flow?
Of course, of course. I mean,
Mhm.
that's what I'm now. Of course. So hiring a really good bookkeeper can be a make or break. And that's something that I saw within the marketplace why I opened Eight Figure Finance, actually. So I appreciate the question. At Eight Figure Finance, just to quickly give you a blurb about my company in particular, we offer weekly updates to the books and records. So if you are a founder or in the position at a company that you're really honed in on those numbers, they're going to be updated every week for you to analyze and review. Additionally, just making sure, like, raising those red flags right before they're making sure, looking, being like a fire alarm, right? So for my clients, I try to be as proactive as possible when I see something change, whether it's expense that popped or a revenue that dipped or something in between, like they're even getting charged interest on their credit card they didn't know. Just under being that line of defense to basically spoon feed the client, like, this is what's going on in your business and you need to be aware of it. And so hiring a good bookkeeper can make or break. There are bookkeepers out there that don't even really necessarily review the books. They just transact, reconcile, and send it off. So just being detail oriented is super important, and having someone on your team that you can rely on can really be make or break.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And what methods would you recommend businesses use to keep an eye on cash flow and kind of ensure long-term financial health? So they've looked at everything, they're starting to see, maybe they've made their budget, they have a good bookkeeper, but what else can they do to ensure, long-term that their business is going to last?
Yeah, I mean, it starts with, like, okay, let's work on sales, right? Let's build the sales team, let's build the sales, let's get revenue going, let's try and keep expenses as lean as possible. But then when you're really in that expansion mode and scaling, it's, are you collecting, like, similar to what I said earlier, are you collecting cash on time? Are your clients delinquent? Do you need to set expectations better for them? Like, do you have agreements in place that you can collect these numbers? Hiring experts are always super important. So I always think that, it's easier to pay someone and get the answers rather quickly and correctly than to go figure it out yourself. So investing in your business and building out your team that you can rely on can be very helpful in sustainability, and just constantly, trying to focus on the high level things and delegating the lower level. Um, I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just making sure that you have the big picture at all times and setting goals and conquering those goals. And if you don't actually achieve them, why? Why are you not doing that? And just, having a real life, viewpoint as how your business is healthy or if it's not.
Yeah, definitely. And I know you had mentioned kind of looking at, like, say, for a project-based company, understanding the cost for acquiring that customer, the cost of goods sold. Like, what would go into those categories if somebody didn't know? Say, like, what would you look at as acquisition costs for a customer?
Yeah, I would. That's a good point. So you definitely want to understand how much it costs to actually acquire the customer. And so that goes into Like the fastest way to do it is kind of take your marketing expenses, take your sales, and divide that by how many new customers you've received in that period of time that you're analyzing. And that will give you the idea of how much it costs to really get one. Okay, so now you have that. And basically, the way that I view business is okay, you've acquired the customer for a cost. Now you want to get repaid on that. If you're a service company, you're going to charge them a subscription every month. How fast are you making that net income after servicing them to get back that fee that you got? Because then the return becomes infinite. And going in specifically understanding kind of what I mentioned earlier about the projects, like what is the cost of goods sold or what is the price to fulfill that specific client, who is working on it, what software costs are related to it, both fixed and variable, and just honing in on, am I even making money with a client with these clients? I recently went through an exercise with a client of mine who constantly is growing and he's been overwhelmed as if his offering is right. And so we did a whole analysis, basically an Excel spreadsheet of client where each columns, and then we had the expenses going down the side. And we noticed, he had about 12 clients and 3 of them were completely negative. And so he had to come to the realization, do I tell the client like I need to charge you more, or do I not work with them anymore and get someone else to replace them? So it's those type of analyses and things that you have to be aware of, or it's going to be really difficult to scale and become a really successful business.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's really important. Let's dive into accounts receivable management a little bit now. So what techniques have you found to be the most effective when it comes to optimizing accounts receivable?
Yeah. Something we preach here at Eight Figure Finance is to get rid of that net terms, right? So it's changing them to 7 or even automatic. You can even review your subscription. You can even remove your revenue model and say, can I actually get a subscription from this person rather than billing them hourly or on a project? Partial payments, collecting, obviously, automating reminders is super important, right? So there's softwares out there, whether you're collecting via bill.com or Stripe or any other payment processor, you can actually set auto reminders to say, hey, your invoice is due in 10 days. Please pay it 5 days, day of. And actually, what I've seen, what's kind of new, or at least for me, is late notice reminders. So if you charge a late fee, that's obviously helpful. That incentivizes them to pay on time. But on the flip side, if you basically, instead of sending them a reminder, pay the invoice, you can send them a reminder, hey, your late fee is about to pop next day, like tomorrow. So you better pay it. It's a little bit of a psychological game that can be really helpful. And then look, if you're struggling a lot and they're being kind of a pain in the butt, you can offer a discount and say, hey, look, I need this money now. I'll give you a 10% discount if you pay it right now in order to just get the cash in the door.
Okay, that makes sense. I know a lot of people kind of feel friction around changing terms on customers. Like, do you have any tips for kind of how to ease into that?
Yeah. So the script that we use is, look, I want to service you better and I want to provide you with the best care for it because you're my client. And me chasing you down for payment is not helping both of us. It's hurting my productivity and it's also affecting the project that I'm supposed to service for you. So we use that script to say, look, I wanted to give you the all I got, but me sending you emails and reconciling whether you paid it or not is just hurting everybody here because I can't give you the deliverable on time and I'm not getting paid.
Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. We kind of touched on this a little bit, but we're going to talk a little bit about like customer communication. How important would you say that is in managing accounts receivable effectively?
It's one of the first, if not the most important. So you first off, you of course want to build rapport with your client, right? You want to show them that you're going to give them proper service, and in return, they're paying for something that makes sense. You're adding value, and so right off the bat, with either a sales call or an onboarding call, you're showing them and it's perception is everything, right? So you're delivering a really good service. And so you want to make sure your service offering is obviously right, is good. And then we use engagement letters to kind of set expectations up front, both on the legal liability side and also just look, we're in a business together, we're transacting. So this is my job that I'm going to give you. And in return, you should also respect what I need, which usually comes down to payment. Um,
Right.
prompt invoicing is also really important. So let's say you make the sale. Let's not wait to invoice that client. You want them to pay you on time, so invoice them on time and show them that everything on the back end of your systems are working, so that it just adds trust. Following up can be obviously important, so setting those auto reminders, and then just constant communication, right? So the more you're the way that I think about it is if you're over communicating with your client, like there's a point where you could be a little annoying, but if you're just setting that cadence on expectations and saying, hey, just so you know, today's Monday and we think we're going to be done on Friday. We started last week. Just giving them those little updates reminds them, oh, I should pay on time and stuff like that.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
just being in their ear.
Okay. Very cool. Well, now we're going to get to the topic that everybody probably joined this webinar to hear about, and that's AI. So let's chat a little bit about AI in accounting. How would you say artificial intelligence is transforming the accounting landscape today?
So AI is transforming everywhere, every industry, every piece of technology is becoming AI, right? So the phones that we hold every day are getting smarter and smarter and being able to do a lot more tasks automated. So the small tasks such as categorizing transactions, reconciling bank accounts, those tools are being developed at the moment or even out there in the marketplace. And so it's the high level tasks, that the analysis that the human still needs to, I don't want to use the word audit, but review and make sure that this computer or technology is actually doing something correctly, because the technology is not going to pick up on anything except really historical data. And so if there's something new to it that it may not recognize, it either is going to make an assumption that's going to be educated based on whatever data it has, or it may make an error because it doesn't know what to do. And so that's where it's like, that's the teetering of, okay, how much human element do you need and how much do you not? I know even if you just look at ChatGPT, which is probably the most mainstream AI tool at the moment, if you have an accounting question and you're not sure, or any other question in the world, that thing is like taking over Google at this point. You could ask it, how do I depreciate this asset that I bought 3 years ago and I haven't done it? And it will basically create a schedule for you. So it's going to take over the game in regards to how fast and efficient everybody can be. But I am still not 100% there that it can take out the human at the moment. But happy to dive in more.
Okay, yeah. So like a
So
partnership with
yeah,
AI, not it's not going to replace you, but more how can I work with it at this?
yeah, I would allow it to kind of, I would want to test it and understand that it's going to do what I want, but then of course reviewing it, right? And at some point, unless it doesn't have a reporting tool, it actually may take longer because the review process is essentially doing it over
Mhm.
again. And it's just how much you can trust. And I do have an anecdote because I think it's important. Um, as I started this business and I'm growing it, innovation is like the forefront of my mind. And I have vendors that speak to. I try and speak to once a week just to know what's in the marketplace, what's being offered. I mean, shout out to Synder, because like I had a meeting with you guys and you have transformed my business with the integration tools that you guys have. And so I'm always looking into that type of stuff. And I've spoken to some AI vendors and I've tested it out, and I'm still seeing errors. I just not that I'm not I'm on the side of, hey, let's use AI, let's benefit from it. It's the future, and if you're not going to adopt it, you're going to be left behind because it's just here and it's not going anywhere. But I think that there's going to be trust issues in the marketplace and in society of how much you're going to allow this thing to do. Um, But with that being said, analyzing data is better than like understanding data, if that makes sense. And the AI tool, it's superior to the human when it comes to analyzing and spitting out results.
Okay, that's good to know. Can you give us, I know you gave us that deprecation example, which was great. Are there any other examples of like practical AI applications in accounting that maybe could boost efficiency or things that you've seen?
Yeah. So I think AI is at the point, I know it is because there's tools out there that you can feed it a lot of financial data sets, profit, revenue, sales data, talk about AR, right? How fast am I collecting this data? You can say I invoiced them here and I got paid here. And it can if you can export data out of your system and pop it into an AI tool, it will give you results at a lightning speed rate compared to if a human were to do it. And so some of those positions that are at companies, may look different in a few years. And, maybe there's that human that reviews the report, kind of does a smell test. Does this make sense? That's something that you can do, right? In bookkeeping, a lot of the tasks are categorizing expenses and income. And I think an AI tool is just about there where it can do it with audits and reviews. But again, I've already seen errors take place on a firsthand. So, but I would still give it and just figure out a process on how to better review it. Streamlining communication. Like I'm not there yet at my company, but I know it's out there where, we're a Slack company and you can basically put a bot into this Slack ecosystem and it will start learning how you respond to clients and actually pick up on that. And you can sort of do that. I mean, look, if you go to any service provider, right, on the internet and you have a chat box, you're gonna talk to a bot before a human. So
Mhm.
in regards to communication, email, Slack, Teams, it's basically there.
Yeah, no, I've noticed that too. And sometimes you can't even tell they've gotten so good. You're like, is this a person or am I
they
talking
have
to
they
a
have names and like I think there's regulations coming out, or if not, they're already there where they kind of let you know that this is a bot and do you need to be forwarded to a human. But um I mean, right now there's call centers, just thinking outside of accounting, there's call centers where you call your bank and you get an offshore person, but I think that's going to become a robot at some point.
Yeah, no, I agree. Very interesting. What would you say are some of the biggest benefits of automating routine accounting tasks with AI? I know we kind of talked a little bit about that, but are there some other kind of big benefits that you see?
Yeah, but look, off the bat, it's low cost, right? So there's going to be a lot of different services that are offering AI. If you just do a quick Google search on can I do this task using AI, there's going to be so many vendors that are available at your fingertips. And they're going to be a fractional cost of hiring a human for a salary. And so it's something to be aware of that everybody's going to leverage the low cost. And not only do
Mhm.
you get the low cost, you get the speed. So in accounting, right, you can deploy a bot that reviews the financials every day, reviews the bank accounts every day, and monitors real time 24/7. Whereas if you pay an employee, I'm not going to use the whole 9 to 5 thing because I think 9 to 5 is kind of past our uh, society. We're all connected, so everybody works more. But like no one's working 24/7, and the AI is not going to get sick, and it's not going to have a family emergency, and so those contingencies are eliminated when the robot works. The only thing you have to worry about is a power outage, I guess, but everything's cloud based, and so low cost, speed, and contingency are probably my three biggest benefits of automating things.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Now we're about to move into another topic, but I just want to pose a chance for the audience to ask any questions. If you want to put those in the Q&A box down at the bottom of your screen, you can submit them with your name or anonymous. This is a big topic. There's a lot we could dive into with AI. So if there's something that you really want to chat about, please feel free to make use of the Q&A we have today. We would love to get into your questions. And while we wait for that. We'll go ahead and start on our next topic. And, if questions come in, we'll take those. But let's talk a little bit about integration and process optimization. So, what steps should businesses take to successfully integrate AI into their existing accounting systems?
Question. So there's several ways to go about it, right? Like I actually mentioned this earlier, talking like hiring the expert or paying the expert to figure this out is I think the most beneficial. It takes it off your plate and gets you answers quicker, and actually someone else knows what they're talking about. Because I'm a CPA, I'm an accountant, right? I know accounting very well. I can handle all the different financial data, but I don't necessarily know what the AI bot does in the background. So that's where I would like to talk to, hiring an expert, allowing them to show you the different platforms that are out there, and then running a little bit of a pros cons, like, you bring out the Venn diagram if you want, and just understand which vendor is best for you. And integrating, I mean, these things they've come so far where before they even come to the marketplace, they're ready to integrate for you. And so it's reviewing those processes, seeing it's really important to look at your own business and say, what is a recurring task that someone has been doing for so long? And I can probably get an AI to do it, and I could do it faster and more efficient with less error. So just really taking a 360-foot view of your business and saying, okay, what what is someone doing that can actually be automated it's a very powerful exercise that takes time to do, but it's super valuable in the long run. So I think hiring an expert, understanding what third party vendors are out there, and similar to me, right? Just researching, take an hour out of your week, put it on your calendar, and just say, what tools are out there that I should be aware of? And I want to be the leader of this, and I want to know before everybody else.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I mean, you could even turn to ChatGPT and ask for that analysis.
No, I mean you really can. It's listen, I don't really use Google anymore. It has everything for me. Um,
Mhm.
Google is really helpful for like reviews of businesses. So, maybe if I want to go out to eat with my wife, I'll take a look at the dinner, what everybody else is saying about the restaurant. But like when it comes to learning facts or understanding things,
Yeah,
ChatGPT
I
has
know
it.
it's very it's gotten very advanced. So take advantage of that. Don't be afraid of it. Actually use it to your advantage in your business.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about how optimizing processes can lead to better decision making in finance. Like, what do you see there?
Yeah. I mean, of course, just like getting ahead of the reporting, right? I think it's important to know, like, okay, so I'll go back to my business. So we try and do our monthly close before the 10th day of the 10th business day of the month. And so if you want your September financials, you may have to wait up to October 10th to receive them, and they're going to be closed, they're going to be packing it up. But those 10 days, you may want a financial decision faster. And I think the AI tool is just going to be quicker. Like I said, it's working 24/7. It doesn't have sick days. And the faster you get the reporting, the faster you get the data, the faster you can then make decisions. And so that AI bot or tool is going to be invaluable because you can you can get data faster, you can make decisions faster, and everything speeds up. There is no waiting time for, hey Bob, like, did you get that report to me? It's there. It's already saved on your computer, ready for you to review. And so we at my company, we always talk about spoon feeding both the client and the manager, like how much data can you consolidate and present in a way that's so much easier for someone to review, and the AI bot can do that a lot faster, and to be honest, probably less error.
Yeah, that's true. However, as you mentioned before, it is important to have at this stage, at least, human
Yeah.
reviewing. What would you say as far as like some common pitfalls businesses should avoid when trying to optimize? I know like that human review is important. Anything else that you would?
The pitfalls is, of course, the error, right? So it has to make an assumption, and it at this stage, I'm not beyond, I'm not a developer, but um, if my employee has a question, they come to me and escalate it to me. I don't know if the bot's going to do that or if it's going to do its best to try and figure it out by itself and could make an error. For the rudimentary, for the tasks that are rather simple and reperforming, it's going to do it better and it's going to have less error. It's just a giant calculator, and the calculator is not going to make a mistake when it comes to data. But when it comes to, mapping different data to each other, for example, I had the other day, right? Like I went out to dinner and I wanted to see if the bot would recognize that it was a meal expense rather than something else, and it booked it to office supplies. So, you know, I don't know why it did that. If it Googled or if it looked up the name of the restaurant and thought, oh, that could be an office supply. But those are the pitfalls, right? And how are you? What red tape do you have to say, hey, wait, that may be wrong? Is like what system is built into that bot for it to spit out? I guessed. So can you tell me if it's right? I don't know. But the human will, of course, raise the red flag and say, I'm not sure if this is right or wrong.
Right. And that's why it's important to definitely review. I know just even for a personal project I was working on, I put in, all my requirements into Chat GPT. It spit it out for me. And I was like, hey, on this line 12 doesn't look right. And it was like, I'm sorry,
Right.
you're right. Like, and it just, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's, of course, it's everywhere, but at the very bottom of ChatGPT, it always says like it can make an error. You have to check my work. And so it's, I think a lot of the higher level executive management positions are going to turn into how have you been able to create a process to review this?
Right.
And and also, of course, like everybody talks about the prompts, right? So prompt building is important. Can you ask the question to get the most out of it? Uh, that's something to consider. But in accounting, I mean, it's big, it's huge, and it's everywhere, and it's not going away. And so we have to really adopt it instead of trying to avoid it. And I'll say it again, just so everyone can hear on the call. You want to be on the forefront. You don't want to be left behind.
Definitely. Yes. Very true. And just want to announce one more time, we will have time for questions. So please get those questions in. I'm sure people have questions about integrating AI into their accounting. So let's get those entered so we can get them answered on this webinar. And I know like we've talked a lot about obviously adding AI into your process, optimizing. What advice would you give to accounting professionals who want to embrace AI, but maybe they're, nervous about it? They're like, they hear like, oh, you have to check the work, so I'll just have to do all the work anyways. I've heard that before. Like what advice would you give to someone who's kind of feeling that, not sure about it?
Yeah, I'm a big advocate of testing, right? So, test it out. Try and create a dummy, in the accounting world. Try and create a dummy QuickBooks and feed it transactions, see how it does, or feed it dummy data and see if it's going to give the report that you'd like. So it's all about testing it. And then, of course, researching what tool you think would be best and getting on the call with these services and vendors and learning about what they're doing, how they're doing it, because whatever someone is doing, someone else is. And so there's competitors everywhere. So once you figure out, oh, this AI has capability of doing X, then other people are doing it. And you should probably start thinking about putting it into your business as long as it fits, is cost can save you money and just overall benefits you. I think that's the best way to do it.
Awesome. Thank you. Now, like looking into the future, obviously we don't know what's going to happen exactly, but as we see the future of accounting evolving, AI is obviously going to continue to advance. What are your thoughts on where it's going? And a question that we've heard a lot is like, will people be replaced completely in this sphere at some point? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I am going to say I don't think humans will be replaced. I think the human is creating the AI, and if the humans replace, then humanity is at is at stake. But I think there's always going to be components of human interaction with the bot, whether that's reviewing it, feeding it the correct prompt. It just there has to be some type of review at the very top. So in regard to the human being replaced, I don't see it happening. Do I see other tasks that companies currently hire for that may go obsolete? Yes, but that just means that person, instead of doing the task, is now reviewing the task and maybe adding more value to the company instead of working on a tedious task that could take a couple days or weeks. So I think people just get faster and people get smarter, but at the end of the day, there will always be a human component. Um, I think that's super important to know. And for the accounting space, I think it's truly scary because we all know what it can do, and there are a lot of tasks that are, a little bit rudimentary and recurring. But I think that there has to be that human element to review it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think
So
a lot of people are kind of afraid of AI, but it's every industry. I mean, I talk to people in all industries. So accountants, you are not alone in this. People are nervous about it across everything, even, from things like clothing designers, you can tell it, design me a dress and it'll do it for you. But it's not going to be like what your creative idea was unless you really prompt it well. So I think learning going to be a big piece of the human element in AI is being able to prompt it to get those correct reports, to get that data, analyzed properly. Because if you just say analyze this, it doesn't know what to do, right?
yeah, and the trust, like you kind of brought up, the trust is really important. So how fast will society actually trust this in the marketplace? Because I think there's going to be a huge reservation when it comes to allowing a system to completely automate a task or position at a company. I think we're pretty far from kind of it being pretty mainstream. I like to use the example of the self-driving cars. So they've been around for so long, so many years, and we are so far from really getting in that thing and not even considering the risks at hand.
Yeah.
I've been in one, and I think they're really cool. But was I pretty nervous the whole time? And did I want to get to my destination? Yes, but that's where I mentioned the test. You got to test it. You got to get comfortable, but it's going to take so long for everybody to adopt over to it that we have sufficient time.
Yep, I agree. And you're brave for getting in that car because I, at this point, will not get in a self-driving car just yet. Don't give a
It
little more.
was a quick trip. I just wanted to see what's going on. So yeah.
Well, let's see. We haven't received any questions yet, so let's dive into like resources and tools. What would you recommend for accounting professionals looking to optimize their practices?
Yeah, I mean, third parties are super important. So hiring a bookkeeper like someone like myself um, can definitely take things off your plate. You don't want to be focusing on, if you are a business owner or you are an accountant, you want to be focusing on that high level stuff. So, can you find a way that the AI does work for you? There are services out there that can definitely help you in preparing financial statements or reviewing them or even running reports. And so I think it's just researching what's in the marketplace is best. Getting on the phone, networking, right? You want to talk to other people in your industry and don't think of them as competitors. You want to think of them as, oh, you can probably learn something from them. I talk to bookkeeper owners all the time, right? So am I sort of competing? Yeah. Are there enough clients in the marketplace for everybody to get some? Of course, but I want to know what you're doing because maybe I should employ that, or maybe I have an idea that can help you. And so networking is crucial, and don't be afraid of anybody in your industry. Can also be you can use it as your advantage.
Yeah, that's great advice. I always love that. Yeah, there's always so many networking groups and things you can find either locally or even online where you can meet with other professionals. And in an era where we are focusing a lot on AI and automating and stuff, it is nice to have that human connection as well. And so this can be a good way to get that. So I know you do have something for the audience, whether you're watching us live right now or whether you are watching this recording later. We do have a one-pager that we want to share with you. And I know Lizzie in marketing is going to go ahead and drop that into the chat for everyone. So
Do you want me to put it on my screen?
if you want to talk through it, that would be great. I know Lizzie just shared it into the chat, so everyone should be able to
Sure.
download that directly from the chat. But yeah, if you want to kind of let the audience know what this is and maybe how to get in touch with you as well, it'd be great.
Share my screen. All right. Let me know if you can see it.
Yes, we
I wasn't
can.
sure if there's a presentation view. But so this is my company. It's Eight Figure Finance. We're a full suite bookkeeping firm helping business owners feel confident with their finances. Um, we offer a free complimentary financial discovery. And so, and on a high level, we kind of offer two different financial discoveries. The first one I want to talk about is the free one. And that's going to be, it's basically like if you were to inspect a car, you pop the hood open and you make sure that everything's plugged in, you maybe turn on the engine and it works. But I may not necessarily be looking into, is the oil burning? Like, do you need an oil change? That would be more so on the paid version. But the free one is really good in the marketplace because there are so many, there are bookkeepers all over the place that are, maybe not performing at or appropriately bookkeeping. And so we like to tell our potential clients or clients, hey, this is just a peace of mind. If we find an error, we want to let you know that you may be overpaying taxes or there may be something severely wrong. And then we kind of we'll tell them how we can help them out. But also on the flip side, I talk to people all the time where they participate in my review and I say, hey, your provider's doing a really good job. So uh, it goes both sides. And the paid version is going to include a call and some document turnover to understand more about the business. So we specialize in, again, comprehensive bookkeeping. The services are pretty simple. It's weekly updates to the books and records, accurate transaction reporting, monthly close, and then timely delivery of financials. So that is a key to our business. We think that we know we do it better than everybody else at a more efficient rate. And so talking about data reporting, we get you your numbers faster than everybody else so that you can make better decisions, focus on growth and operations.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for walking through that. And again, just a reminder that is in the chat for those who are attending live. If you are watching this recording later, it will be in the email that you receive to get the link to watch this webinar. So thank you so much, Ben. This has been so interesting and such a great topic to dive into. I really appreciate you being our guest today. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. And I thank you for everybody on the call. Um, these webinars are helpful to, again, learn about the industry and, talk about what's going on in the world. So thanks for Synder for allowing me to
Yeah, thank
participate.
you for being here. And just a reminder for everyone watching, we do have more webinars coming, so please stay tuned. You'll see that on social media, or if you're on our email list, you'll get those emails to sign up for future webinars. And we can't wait to see you on the next one. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye.
All right. Take care.